there are more patterns, more facts, than there are motor outputs. So what has to happen is this tremendous plethora of facts that surrounds us has to be filtered to the point where you pick a single action, because you can't act otherwise. And so the mechanism that reduces the number of facts to the selected action is the mechanism that mediates between facts and values. And it's not simply in and of itself, it's a fact that that exists, but it isn't a simple, that what it does isn't a simple fact. You can't explain it. You can't understand it.
Why not? Why not? Why
well,
isn't that a fact?
For the same reason that you can't.
I mean,
look, for the same reason that you don't know what a neural network is doing. Like you can train a neural network, an AI neural network.
There's a distinction between facts and facts that we know, right? There is whatever it is the case, right? And then there's our understanding of it and our misunderstanding of it. So there are many things that we think we know that we're wrong about. There are many things that we are aware we're ignorant of, and there's always this larger space of reality that we're struggling to engage with. And it may in fact be the case that in evolutionary terms, I mean, we know it's the case that we have not evolved to understand reality at large perfectly. That's not the sort of monkeys we are, right? And you could even argue that one cognitive scientist who some of you may have heard of, Donald Hoffman, is arguing now, very colorfully, that human consciousness or the human mind is actually evolved to get things wrong in fairly specific ways, so as to maximize survival, and that
was the argument I made in our first discussion.
No, but here, no, it was not quite, because this still preserves the difference between getting things right and getting things wrong. His argument is that getting things truly right, having a nervous system and a cognitive architecture that could really understand reality, quote, reality as it is, would be maladaptive. And he has some mathematical demonstration of this, that the quote true representations of reality are categorically maladaptive, and that there's a certain kind of error that is, and I'm not sure I buy this argument, but the fact that you can make this argument, the fact that you can differentiate the adaptively useful misunderstandings versus a true understanding that's maladaptive, the fact that we can even talk about that demonstrates to me that we have this larger picture of what is in fact true, whether we know it or not. And this is what religion gets so catastrophically wrong. I mean, religion gives you some other mechanism whereby to orient yourself. In this case, revelation.
Religion does provide those functional simplifications. That's
but
its purpose.
They're simplifications appropriate to
Some of them are.
If then.
Some of them are, for sure, and that's why we have to have this discussion, because mere revelation and mere tradition is insufficient, and I truly believe that we can agree on that. But back to the biological argument. So, because I thought that tonight I would make a very strictly biological argument, is that. So now the question is, now you've got your sensory systems that are detecting the world of facts, and you have your motor output system, which is a very narrow channel, because you can only do one thing at a time. And that's one of the things about consciousness that's quite strange. It's a very, very narrow channel. So you have to take this unbelievably complex world, and you have to channel it into this very narrow channel. And you don't do that by being wrong about the world, but you do that by ignoring a lot of the world and by using representations that are no more complicated than they have to be in order to attain the task at hand. It's like you're using low-resolution representations of the world. They're not inaccurate, because a low-resolution representation of the world isn't inaccurate any more than a low-resolution photo is. But they're no higher resolution than they need to be in order for you to undertake the task at hand. And if you undertake the task at hand and that goes successfully, then what you've done, and this is basically the essence of American pragmatism, what you've done is validated the validity of your simplifications. So if the tool you have in hand is good, if the axe you have in hand is sharp enough to chop down the tree, then it's a good enough axe. And that's part of the way that we define truth pragmatically in the absence of infinite knowledge about everything. Okay, so now you build up this nervous system between the world of facts and the world of values, and and it narrows the world of facts. And the question then is, how do you generate the mechanism that does that narrowing? And this is what's useful.
But I mean, that's not quite how the cake is layered. Because the facts are up here too, right? For me to even notice that you're a person, right, or to attribute beliefs to you, or to have a sense of being in relationship at all, this is one of those higher order interpretive acts based on a many-layered nervous system.
Yes,
right?
It's not only bottom up.
Yeah, it's bottom up and it's top down. Yes, but facts are also on the top, right? It's not that we have facts here and values here.
Well, I think what I'm trying to do...
You can't get to a fact, but through going through a process like this.
I think what I'm trying to do, I think, maybe, or it's one way of thinking about it, is that you're positing that we can use rationality as a mechanism for mediating between facts and values. I believe, because otherwise there's no use for rationality. We can just have the facts.
But it's a process. It's even simpler than that. It's just that for me, and I think for everyone, if they will only agree to use language this way, for me, values are simply facts about the experience of conscious creatures. Good and bad experiences give us our values.
Yeah, but they're not simple. That's the problem. And neither are the goods and the bads.
But some are very simple. Having your hand put on a hot stove is incredibly simple. And
not if it'll save your child if you do it.
Well, but again, the unpleasantness of it, right? No, that's an orthogonal point.
No, it's not. No, it's not. If you look at the way the reward and punishment systems work in the brain, you can easily train an animal using reward to wag its tail if it's being shocked electrically. You can do that, and you can wire it very low to do that.
There's a range of unpleasant experiences we can have where we can construe them as pleasant or necessary, right? And that's a kind of a higher level frame around it.
That's the top-down issue. Yeah.
But I'm talking about the worst possible sensory experience that all of us will agree is unpleasant, right? That doesn't require a story for us to feel aversion to. And there are many things like that in life that are just rudimentary, where it's just we are organized in such a way that if you put us into fire, we don't like it.
So are you claiming then, like, this is another problem? This is where I think that the argument that you make, although accurate in its rudiments, let's say, is insufficiently high resolution, because now it sounds to me like you're including the domain of qualia unquestioningly in the domain of facts. Now you can do that, but we need to know if that's what you're doing. Like, what are these facts you're talking about? Are they mere manifestations of the objective world, or do they shade into the subjective as well?
There are objective facts about subjective experience. So I can make true or false claims about your subjectivity, and you can make those about your own subjectivity, right? You can be wrong about your own subjectivity. We're not subjectively incorrigible. And I might have said this last time in Vancouver. I mean, the example I often use here is to speculate about what JFK was thinking the moment he got shot, right, is not a completely vacuous exercise. There are literally an infinite number of things we know he wasn't thinking, right? So we can make claims about his conscious mind at that moment in history, which are as scientific, even though the data are unavailable, right? So I mean, many people get confused between having answers in practice and there being answers in principle. I mean, there are many trivial fact-based claims we could make about reality where we can't get the data, but we know the data are there. I mean, so do you have an even or odd number of hairs on your body at this moment? We don't want to think about what it would take to ascertain that fact, right? But there is a fact of the matter, right? And so it is with anything. I mean, so what does a person weigh? Many facts are blurry because you're going to weigh him down to the 100th decimal place. No, so it's like at a certain point you're going to be rounding, and someone's weight at that point is changing every microsecond because they're exchanging atoms with the air. So there are facts that can be loosely defined. This is true of our subjective lives too. So if it is a fact about you that when you were praying to Jesus, you felt an upwelling of rapture, right? Subjectively, that can be an absolutely true thing to say about you. We can pair that subjective experience with an understanding of the neurophysiological basis for it. You can think about it in terms of a larger story about your life, but all of this can be translated into a fact-based discussion about what's happening for you. And my only claim is that the value part, and hence the ethics part, relates to the extremes of positive and negative experience that people have in their lives.
I'm not